Hey, it is Tuesday morning transformation. It's time for a mindset shift. And today we're going to talk about turn your pain into power. Turn your pain into power. Man, we are spirits having a human experience. There is pain in life, but how can you turn that pain into power? And this is one of the most important lessons that I learned in my life that completely turned my life around. But before we get into how to turn your pain into power, we're doing a 3-day event from 10 a.m. to 11 Pacific time on You Are More Powerful Than You Think Facebook page that is stand strong and confident in a world that can knock you down today. All kinds of stuff going on. We started in the world that can just be so suppressive. And today, actually, this is the beginning of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go into a little more detail and talk about so much more. So go to You Are More Powerful Than You Think, because yesterday was the first most powerful tool. This is the second. And then tomorrow, hey, we're going to wrap this thing up, and I guarantee it will be a major transformation. So I'm giving you just a brief introduction of what I'm going through today. Turn your pain into power. So, hey, we live in our humanity. We always have pain. Our humanity has pain. It's called life, right? Life has pain. But it's not what actually happens to us, but our impression of what happens to us that determines the meaning that we assign. It's not what happens to us, it's the impression that we create of what happens to us, and then we assign a meaning. We assign a meaning, an emotion to it. So here's a quote, Samuel Smiles: "We learn wisdom from failure much more often than from success." Oh my God, isn't that the truth, right? We often discover what will do by first finding out what will not do. Man, we learn from, I'm not going to do that again. I mean, right? Isn't that what life's about? And probably he who never made a mistake never made a discovery. And what's that mean? Our mistakes are our evolution. You know, we're going to talk about, we've talked about, our sole purpose may come from our most painful experience. So if we know we're going to learn wisdom primarily from failure, and we assign an emotion to a condition that gets wired into our brain, we perceive that event in life associated with an emotion, and then over time, not only does it affect their behavior, but more dangerously, it becomes a belief. Oh man, then when it wires into you as a belief, now that starts to affect our behavior, and because we feel it in our body, we believe it's real. But it's really from an emotional perception of what happened to us. We assign a meaning, it gets wired in our body. Now we have a belief system. Now that belief system becomes a limiting behavior. And now the problem is the power in your life becomes dependent on your belief systems from your interpretation of past experiences. Does it mean that what happened to you didn't happen? No. Does it mean it wasn't a violation from another person? Well, if you perceive a violation, then yeah, shit happens, man, and it frickin' hurts. And that's it. And limiting beliefs that reproduce past behavior are extremely powerful. See this Italian? This is my grandmother. Little Freddy, what are you doing? Right? You want some chiclets? That was my grandmother. But they're very powerful. They can be powerfully destructive, or they can be powerfully empowering. So the question is, do you believe that you have belief systems that may be holding your life back? And that's what we're going to go through today. And how do you change limiting beliefs into empowering beliefs? Come on, I need some comments down here. This is good stuff right here, okay? So what I'm going to show you now is the second most powerful tool in your life. And you go, okay, if it's the second, then what the heck's the first? The first is unconditional love. Now that was the number one most painful experience in my life, was watching my wife, taking her to her death, watching her take her last breath, was the number one most powerful tool. And the lesson of unconditional love that I learned, I was never the same from the minute she stopped breathing. I have not been the same, and it's been an evolution ever since. And because I learned unconditional love, then once you learn love unconditionally, then forgiveness becomes so much easier. Once we learn love, then letting go of all that stuff becomes a lot easier. So forgiveness by definition. So the first one's love, second one's forgiveness. Forgiveness by definition. Renunciation, what's that mean? Giving up of resentment, letting go of indignation, letting go of your impression of those offenses, and here it says, letting go of indignation and anger as a result of here's a key word, perceived offense. So forgiveness is letting go of something you perceived. Isn't that fascinating? And then no longer demanding judgment or punishment for something. Okay, so when you haven't forgive, what are you doing? You've been violated. You're demanding, right? What you're doing is you're demanding punishment of yourself, and you're demanding punishment of others. Man, I mean, that just sounds heavy, don't you think? So when you've created something and you're still demanding punishment, whether it's someone else or of yourself, you are hammering the nail into the cross that keeps you bound to that cross. That's a metaphor, right? The crucifixion is a dying off. Okay, you're refusing to die off so that you can have resurrection on the other side. Okay, so what's that nail that you're hammering into the cross? It's resentment, it's shame, it's guilt, it's low self-esteem, it's sadness, it's depression, it's everything more. And who's the hardest person to forget? Ourself. So what's the probability you're going to do something new for the first time? You're not. What's probability you're going to do something new and do it right? You're not. So we make mistakes, we don't do it right, we learn from failure, we get offenses, we feel like we're violated, we hang on to that, and now then we wonder why our life is the way it is. So what I'm going to do is give you 4 steps. Now once I learn unconditional love, and then I learn these 4 steps of how to let go, how to look at failure, then my whole life transcended. Now I know how not to hang on to stuff, because it's honor God within yourself first, learn, exercise loving yourself and others, and then, accepting forgiveness. So here's 4 steps to becoming great. Actually, you already are great, to becoming aware that you already are great. So here's 4 steps. Ready? 1, there is no failure. Life is just a successive lessons on learning. Hey, you learn what to do by first learning what not to do. Like once you understand that, then life becomes so much easier. Then there is no failure. You don't define failure, right? Because you're going to try something new. If you're going to develop a new skill, you're going to progress in life, your life is going to evolve, you're always going to try something new. And so now I know, right, what's probability you're going to try something new and master it the first time? Not. So now you know, for you to develop a skill, then, shit's going to happen, man. Life's going to happen. So number 1, there is no failure, there's only learning. Number 2, then you decide, what did I learn? Now here's what happens when if I have a challenge in my life, here's the number 1 important lesson that I learn all the time. I didn't listen to my intuition, right? Because my intuition, don't do that, don't go there, that's not the right direction. And even if you're doing things right, it might not be the right thing for you. So I've done things that were definitely right, but they weren't along my soul purpose. And because they weren't along my soul purpose, I was doing these things, which were still good things, but it wasn't aligned with my soul path. I felt overwhelmed. I felt heavy. They felt like too many tasks. I felt tired all the time. And that's your physiology and your spirit telling you you're going in the wrong direction. Even though it's a good direction, it's not the direction of your soul path. So what was my number 1 and continually number 1 lesson? Listen to your intuition. What did I learn? I knew, although this was a good thing, I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. It's not my soul path, so I'm going to get back on my soul path. And this happened to me recently. And when I did, I felt inspiration. My energy was better. I felt more inspired. I felt more creative. I wasn't as tired when I woke up in the morning. I actually looked forward to getting out of bed rather than, oh my God, I have so many things to do today. Geez, there is no failures. What did I learn? Now, what's number 3? Have gratitude for what you learn. Thank God. Again, I've learned. Listen to my intuition now as I get older. I listen to it more and more and more and more. So even though things might be, going in the right direction, doing things right, the right thing is following your soul path, always. Now, when you have gratitude for what you learn, you replace pain with a gift. You replace pain with pleasure. No matter what it is in your life, and there's some very painful things. Number one painful thing, watching my wife die. I'm so grateful because I wrote, "You are more powerful than you think." We're giving this 3-hour thing. I just got another testimonial on Messenger a couple days ago. A person reading the book said, "It's changed my life. Thank you so much for what you do." We help more people than we can realize. Now, when you have gratitude, the darkness can't exist in the light. It can't exist in the light. Here's your pain. When you're focused on the shadow, why is there a shadow? Because the light, there's an object that gets it, that the light shines on, and it casts a shadow on the other side. So you focused on the shadow, or you focused on the light, because you're the object. Are you staring at the shadow, or do you turn around and stare at the light? Have gratitude for the lesson, no matter what it is, because you learned something that has evolved your soul. And guess what? It's the only way you would have learned it. You wouldn't have learned it any other way. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone through it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had that person that was showing you their pain. You wouldn't have had that violation, right? Number 4, what are you going to do? Number 1, there is no failure. Number 2, let's identify what I learned, because I'm a human. I'm a spirit on a human journey. Number 3, have gratitude for that lesson, because the only way you could have learned it's what gives you wisdom. Knowledge becomes wisdom through experience. And then number 4, what am I going to do? Now you take that lesson. And now faith without action is dead. Faith needs action. Otherwise, it's not just faith, right? It's not just faith and do nothing. Faith turns into action. So what are you going to do? 1, there is no failure. 2, what did you learn? 3, have gratitude for the lesson. Turn that pain into pleasure, into power, and then take action, because execution becomes wisdom. Experience becomes wisdom. Now you have a new energy. Now you take empowered action because you turn your pain into power. Now that transmute pain into pleasure, into gratitude. Now you return to love, and love is the most powerful. Now you have a new energy, new life. You shed that old belief system. You don't even allow that old belief system to attach, because this is how you live. It's not about what you've been through. It's about how you're going to process that, turn that into discovering your soul purpose, have gratitude for it, and as things happen, go through 4 steps, baby. That's it. New energy, new beliefs, new life. So here we go. This is from Betty Eady, Embraced by the Light. The more we thank God for the blessings we receive, which is our pain, turning it into pleasure, 4 steps, the more we open the way for further blessings. The more we thank God for the blessings, that's another word for the pain you go through, the blessings that you receive, the opportunity that you have to go through those lessons, the more we open the way for further blessings. So do you want to be a blessing? Do you want to be blessed? Do you want to be a blessing to other people? Then see every experience, 4 steps, turn pain into power, take action, and man, that's how we live. So Goody, you are more powerful than you think. Page, get invited. You got to be invited to get on the page. These are going to be taped. Follow this 3-day event. I guarantee you, in today's world, man, we're headed for some stuff right now. This will give you power. It will turn your pain into power. It will help you stand strong. It will help you have confidence no matter what happens on the outside, that we know we are bigger on the inside. Okay? And then spread this around. And let's change the world, man, as we raise consciousness. So here's an affirmation got from Wayne Dyer. I now vibrate to the energy of love, illumination, and infinite peace. That energy counterbalances the energy of the consciousness of 10 million people. I now vibrate to the energy of love, illumination, and infinite peace. That consciousness raises the consciousness, because you're at that consciousness, raises the consciousness of 10 million people. Let's be that. Let's be unconditionally loving. Use the second most powerful tool, forgiveness. Use 4 steps. Raise our consciousness, and let's transform this world. Okay, gang, let's do this together. See you on You're More Powerful Than You Think group on Facebook. Love you.